What if I told you that the reason that you can't stop thinking about them is not because you're weak? What if the reason it still hurts, even when you know that it's over, has nothing to do with your willpower? And what if you're not trying to just let go of the person, but something much deeper? Because today we are going to talk about the truth about heartbreak and not the version people post on Instagram, but what's actually happening in your brain, in your body, and in your nervous system. So, welcome to another episode of From Breakup to Aras. I'm Yanira Puy, speaker, wellness coach, and your guide through healing identity and becoming the badass that you were always meant to be. And today's conversation might completely change how you see your breakup because this is not about just emotional. Breakup is not about emotional, but it's neurological, biological, and deeply human. I'm just going to talk about my story first. I remember a time after my breakup when I was doing everything right, really. That's what I thought. I would wake up early in the morning, I would meditate, go for a walk, listen to affirmations, I don't know how many, exercise, work, stay busy. And I thought, okay, I'm doing all the work. But then at night would come and it just changed a little bit because the silence felt louder, the memories came back, and the questions started all over again. Why did this happen to me? What did I miss? What could I have done differently? And the hardest part was having actually something to share and realizing there was no one to send it to anymore or to talk to anymore. And that absence felt louder than anything else. And I remember thinking, why am I still here emotionally if I'm doing everything right? And that took several months and almost, more than a year. That's when I realized that something deeper was happening. This is the truth. I wasn't just trying to let go of a person. I was trying to undo what my brain had spent years building. And this is where everything starts to make sense because when you understand that what's happening inside you, when you understand that what's actually happening inside you, you stop making it mean that something is wrong with you because nothing is wrong with you. And you start seeing that your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, to protect you. Let's talk a little bit about the science of love. When you fall in love, your brain doesn't just feel something, it creates patterns. I'm not sure if you have heard about neuroplasticity, but this is how it works. Like every conversation, every touch, every share routine, like, making coffee together. I remember he would just go to the gym. I would take the dog. He would wake up first, and then I would take the dogs out. But we would say hello because he was going to the condo gym. So every single thing that we share, every single routine wires that person into your system as safety, as comfort, and as emotional regulation. Neuroscientist Helen Fisher has shown that romantic love activates the brain's reward system. Have you heard about dopamine before? But particular that dopamine pathways, the same pathways that are involved in addiction, like cocaine, like sugar, cigarettes, alcohol. So that means this is what it means. And this is why it's so important that we understand the reality so we can then understand what's going on to us and after that make the right decisions, right? And not actually just think about that we have failed or we don't know what to do. So when I'm talking about addiction, I'm talking about that means that you just don't like that person. You just don't love that person, right? Your brain, when you break up, your brain begins to crave that person. At the same time, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, this is the hormone that our body releases when we are, with other people, right? When we hug, this is the bonding hormone. It makes us feel calm. It makes us feel happy, right? So our body is releasing that through connection and intimacy, and it that is strengthened through uh, trust and attachment, right? Over time, your brain associates that person, your ex, whoever it was, right? Associates that person with emotional stability. So when they leave, when you leave, it doesn't matter who leaves here in the relationship, is not just emotional because it is also a disruption to our system and your brain relies on. And that's the reason why your heartbreak hurts so much. And here's the part that most people don't understand: heartbreak is not just emotional pain, it is processed in the brain like physical pain, literally. So, research led by Naomi Eisenberger at the University of California in Los Angeles found that social rejection activates the anterior cingulate cortex, which is the same region activated during physical injury. That's why heartbreak doesn't just feel sad, it's not just emotional, it feels unbearable. You feel it. I don't know about you, but I felt it in my chest, maybe in my stomach, in my energy. I didn't have enough energy. Like I wanted to be in bed all the time because your brain is literally trying to process the loss of something it identified as essential for your safety and your survival. And this is when emotional withdrawal comes in. This is why heartbreak feels like withdrawal. Like you're not drinking anymore, you're not smoking anymore, you're not doing drugs anymore. How do you feel? Withdrawal. When a relationship ends, your nervous system loses a source of regulation because your relationship was a source of regulation, was your emotional home. That's how Tony Robbins would describe it. Your body was used to co regulating with that person, sharing emotions, finding comfort, stabilizing your state. Without that, your system becomes kind of dysregulated. Cortisol, which is the stress hormone, goes up, increases in your body, which is why you might wake up anxious before you even have a thought. You're like, you wake up in the middle of the night. Studies on rumination show that after emotional loss, the brain replays memories and conversation as a way to like try to solve what happened, but it doesn't solve it. It loops it, all the time. That's what is called rumination. That's why you think about them even when you don't want to, even when maybe you were the one who stopped the relationship. It's not a lack of strength, it's your brain trying to regain the control. That takes me to another point, like why you can just move on. Why is it so hard to move on? Why do you have to spend maybe month, maybe years thinking about it? And this is where so many women judge themselves. And I'm going to invite you not to do that because you understand it logically. Maybe the relationship is over. Maybe I shouldn't be in that relationship for that long. You may even know that even like that wasn't the right relationship for you. Yet your mind keeps going back over and over. That's because your brain still operating on the pattern it built, When you were building that relationship, your brain was making new connections that make you, that relationship is intertwined. Those times that you spend together is intertwined in you. So research on romantic rejection shows that even after a breakup, reward pathways remain active. When you think, just like that, when you think about your former partner, those connections are light up again. In simple terms, your brain hasn't caught up yet. It's like the breakup was like from one day to the other, but you still need some time to caught up with what happened. Like it's gone, it's not over there. So you're not just letting the person go, you're rewiring years of emotional and neurological condition. And this is so important to understand because the big mistake, and this is where most people slow down their own healing, they I have seen this with, clients, friends, family, like so much people, and even me. They try to be strong. And this didn't happen to me while during the breakup, but it has happened to me in different adversity in my life. I try to be strong, but in the wrong way. Because when we're in this situation, sometimes what we do is suppress our emotions, maybe distract ourselves and push forward. Yes, I'm okay. I'm strong. I can do this. He didn't want me. I didn't want him. I'm just going to move forward. But research shows that emotional suppression, when you don't feel your emotions, where you're not aware and you try to move forward without feeling everything that you're feeling, without like sensing, without like relieving the pain and everything, that suppression actually prolong the stress and it increases internal tension. So when you avoid feeling your nervous system stays active all the time. So instead of healing faster, you stay stuck longer in the same loop, in the same rumination. Strength is not about avoiding what you feel, it's about allowing it to move through you. I was recording a podcast. I was interviewed with this girl, Diana, and we were actually talking about it. And I remember this phrase from a TV show called Girl, My Girl, I'm sorry. And somebody in the show said, the only way to go through it is to go through it. So that's it. You need to feel the feelings. You need to feel the whole thing, the sadness, the rage, the disappointment, whatever it is. You need to feel everything. Because here's the truth, you don't heal what you don't reveal. And I love that because in the last episode, I was interviewing Brian Johnson, which is he is my book coach, and he said this phrase that was stuck in my mind. You don't heal what you don't reveal. You need to talk about it. Healing doesn't happen in silence. It doesn't happen in avoidance. It happens through awareness of what you feel, of what you think, of the whole situation. When you're willing to face what actually hurt you, what you tolerated, what maybe you could have done different, what you're still carrying, you create the conditions for heal, for real change. And this is not about blame. And I love it when I had my therapist during my divorce. He said it's not about, who's to blame. It's not even about who's responsible. And I love a word that he said, it's about your participation. And I love that. And after that, I always think about my heartbreak in this way. We both did what we could with the tools that we have. It's about understanding yourself so you can move forward differently. So if you're here right now, if you're listening to this right now, I want you to focus maybe in three things. I invite you to focus in three things. First, understand that this is not weakness. So what you're feeling is not weakness. This is your biology responding exactly as it was designed to. Two, or second, allow. Stop fighting your emotions. Stop fighting what you're feeling. Emotions are a burst of chemicals that are ignite and absorb in your body in 6 seconds. So if you let them move without judgment, that's when the healing starts to happen. And third, rewire, create new routines, new associations, and new ways of regulating yourself. Neuroplasticity shows us that the brain can change, but it requires repetition and awareness because you're literally building new pathways every time you choose differently. I remember I was watching one of the episodes of Mel Robbins podcast and she was interviewing her daughter, and her daughter went through a breakup. And, some of the things that they were saying is like, maybe you need to go shopping in a different store. Maybe you need to build a new routine. Like, for example, if you both woke up in the morning and exercise, maybe just delay the exercise for a couple of hours. So you change those routines, right? Maybe block him from social media so you don't have to like, oh, I want to, reach out. Oh, well, you don't have they phone number or anything. So remember that you're not trying to let go of a person. You're teaching your brain that you are safe again without them, like you were before you met them, right? And that takes time. Not because you're broken, not because it's your fault, not because you're the one to blame, but because you were deeply connected. You were deeply intertwined. That's what happened. So, if you have been asking yourself why this is so hard, why you're still thinking about him, why you can just move on, maybe ask a different question. Maybe ask why, what is my brain trying to unlearn? Maybe it's the routine, so you change the routines. Maybe it's something else, so you change that because the intensity of your pain is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is evidence that you love deeply. And now you're just learning how to let go consciously. Wow. If this episode resonated with you, I want you to share it with someone who needs to hear this and take a moment to reflect. What pattern are you ready to release? What am I learning from this? I'm actually in the process of writing my book, and I wanted to talk about this because I've been going back and forth within the different chapters. And yesterday, I was going to chapter two, which is what's happening in our body. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to share what I'm writing about, which is all the research behind what's happening to your body when you go through a breakup. And if you're ready to go deeper in your healing journey, make sure you follow the podcast. Our research says that most of you, our listeners don't follow the podcast. So I would really appreciate if you do, because if more people share this podcast, follow the podcast, more people are going to be benefited by this kind of conversations. And I'm going to leave you with the same thing that I leave you in every single episode. Remember, your heart didn't break you, it woke you up. Now go live like the badass that you are.